What is up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist, part of One Mind Syndicate, and today I'm back to talk about Warhammer 40k. Today we have a lot to look over through, because over on the Warhammer community page, we have tons of new rules for none other than the Adeptus Mechanicus. So links for all that information will be down in the description as always, but before I get into the rules that they're showcasing, I do want to say that if you're a Mechanicus player, or if you're wanting to start Mechanicus, now is the best time ever. So the pre-order will go live at the end of the week here, so you guys can pre-order the codex for the Skitarii. The 9th edition codex is going to be amazing, but besides that, they also have a new box set that just comes with core units that, to me, is just chef's kiss. I mean, just the models in this are pretty integral for any type of Skitarii strategy that you're planning on using. So go ahead and get the codex, get this box set, minimum, if you do want to start Skitarii. I am highly debating that, but we'll see. So with that out of the way, let's jump into their new rules for the many different types of Forge Worlds for the Adeptus Mechanicus. So let's begin with the probably most well-known and most important, and that is Mars. So here they have a bunch of rules and whatnot. Now I'm not going to go over everything in detail. Again, the link is down so you guys can read it for yourself, but I will be talking about stuff that is basically like kind of crazy. So they do have a stratagem for either 1 command point or 2 command points called the Wrath of Mars. You use this stratagem in your shooting phase when a Mars unit is selected to shoot. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in that unit makes an attack, any unmodified wound rolls of 6 inflict an additional 1 mortal wound to any normal damage that they'd be doing. Unfortunately, that does have a cap to a maximum of 6 mortal wounds. And basically, based on the power of your unit, if it's 11 or more, that's when it costs 2 CP. If it's 10 or less, then it's only 1 CP. So this is really good. Anytime you're dealing mortal wounds, that's great. And on top of that, you're also going to be doing your normal damage. So this is a stratagem that if you're playing Mars, you always have to be thinking about, because target priority is key, and with the amount of shots that you're firing, it's really not that hard to get 6 mortal wounds off with this stratagem. Now, of course, they're not all about shooting. They do have a really awesome weapon, the Red Axe, which is a colossal cog-bladed axe that you see in pretty much any type of Adeptus Mechanicus art. So basically, you replace the Omniscient Axe with this relic, and it becomes a Strength +2, AP -5, 2 damage weapon. On top of this, each time the bearer fights, you get 3 additional attacks with this weapon. So this is really good. Just cleaving through armor saves, and just the damage is pretty nice too. So this is something that, of course, you're probably not going to be using all the time, because I feel like Skitarii in general, they kind of don't want to be stuck in combat. They're more, in my opinion, they're more of like a mid-range shooty army, but you could really take your opponent by surprise by giving the Red Axe to one of your commanders and have them just cleave through armor saves like nothing. Next up, we have the Lucius ForgeWorld, and this one's pretty interesting. So their dogma is called Solar Blessing, and each time an attack with a damage characteristic of 1 is allocated to a model with this dogma, you add 1 to any armor save throw made against the attack. That's really good, because if you're getting tons of small weapon fire being shot at you, such as a Space Marine's Bolter, you're going to be adding 1 to your armor saves. So usually small weapons fire is nothing too crazy, but you're going to be surviving tons of it. So if your save is a 4, you're basically going to be passing those on a 3-up. On top of that, you also add 3 inches to the range characteristics of your own ranged weapons that have the Solar Blessing Dogma as well. So this is really cool because you're going to be able to outshoot your opponent's infantry with your guns because of that extra 3-inch range. And when they do get close to you to shoot you, you're going to be able to survive that hail of fire coming your way. Now, let's say you can't get close enough to your enemies. Well, no fear. The Lucius ForgeWorld has a 1 command point teleportarium ability. Now this is pretty interesting because the lore for it is that tech priests of Lucius apply the same technologies that they use to shift titans through the warp to master battlefield teleportation. So you use this stratagem before battle even starts, during the declare reserves and transport step. Then you select one Lucius unit that unfortunately excludes vehicles, and then you can set it up in the teleportarium. Then from there, you basically are able to deep strike anywhere 9 inches away from enemy models. Fortunately, you can only use this stratagem once, but depending on the type of game you're playing, such as if it's a strike force battle, you could use it twice. If it's an onslaught battle, you could use it 3 times. But I mean, it's pretty cool because it gives the Skitarii character models and the Adeptus Mechanicus models a little bit more flexibility, a little bit more creativity to the types of ambushes you want to provide. So definitely keep this one in mind. It could be really strong if they would have included vehicles in my opinion, but hey, I get it. Next up we have the ForgeWorld of Agropina. And here we have the Staunch Defender Dogma, which means that each time a model with this dogma makes a ranged attack that targets a unit at half range, the AP of your attack is improved by 1. And each time an enemy unit declares a charge against one of your units that has this dogma, as long as you're not within engagement range of any enemy units, you can hold steady or use the Set to Defend ability. So really good because with this one is really about being up close to your enemy, but not straight up in combat. So obviously if you're close enough to be within half range of your weapons, you're probably in charge range. So you're going to be able to shoot them up and basically tear apart the enemy before they can get into close combat. And maybe if they're weak enough, you can do a counter charge against them. And now for one of their relics, they have the Eye of Z Lexum. So Z Lexum was a legend of Agropina, a servo skull that has been made from the cranium of a fallen tech priest, so that even in death, his withering gaze can reveal the weaknesses of the enemy. Now, at the start of your shooting phase, you select one enemy vehicle within 18 inches of the user, and until the end of the phase, they have the Eye of Lee Zexum Aura ability, which basically gives any Agropina core or Agropina Cataphon servitors within 6 inches of that model the ability to re-roll the wound roll against the selected vehicle. So if your enemy has like a Contemptor Dreadnought that you hate, that you know it's your enemy's baby, your opponent's favorite model, you could really mess them up by giving one of your guys the Eye of Z Lexum and then just blowing it apart turn 1 or turn 2. Continuing on, we have the ForgeWorld of Graya. With Graya, they have the dogma called Refusal to Yield, and this is when each time a combat attrition test is taken for a unit, you automatically pass. So no need to do that morale phase, they pass. And also you get a second ability. Each time that a model with this dogma would lose a wound as a result of a mortal wound, on a d6 roll of a 5-up, the wound is ignored. So it's just making these guys really sturdy, really hard to move off of objectives, whether you're hitting them with like psychic powers or you're just whittling down, they're basically going to stand staunch wherever they're at. And it seems like their whole gimmick is anti-psyker because they have a 1 command point ability called Steel Mind Iron Logic, and you use it during your opponent's psychic phase when a psyker attempts to manifest a psychic power within 18 inches of any Graya unit from your army. Basically what you do is you roll a d6, and on the 4+, you're denying the witch. That power does not go off. So really, really good. Better than any Deny the Witch thing I've seen so far. And the crazy thing about this is that usually Deny the Witch is like 12 inches away. This is 18, and you could use it from any Graya units. The ForgeWorld of Tygi's 8 is really interesting. It's all about being sneaky. Their dogma is called Shroud Protocols, and basically each time a range attack targets a vehicle unit with this dogma, if the attacker is more than 18 inches away, the target is treated as having the benefit of dense cover, so it's better protected. On top of that, each time that a range attack targets a vehicle with this dogma, if the attacker is more than 12 inches away, then the target has the benefit of dense cover against that attack as well. And then the last one is that each time a unit with this dogma declares a charge, none of the targets of that charge can hold steady or set to defend. So really interesting things to keep in mind with that one. So they have a stratagem called Clandestine Infiltration. You use it during deployment and you select one core infantry unit. Then they can be put anywhere on the battlefield as long that they're more than 9 inches away from the enemy deployment zone and enemy models. So it's interesting because if you roll great, you could have a potential first turn charge against your opponent with the infiltration ability here. And then we move to the Riza ForgeWorld. Their dogma is called Red and Cog and Claw, and they're all about melee and close combat. So their dogma adds 1 to the charge rolls for units with this dogma, and each time a model with this dogma makes a melee attack, as long as they charged, were charged, or made a heroic intervention, they add 1 to their attack's wound roll. So really cool there. And on top of this, they're really good at using plasma weaponry. So they have Plasma Specialist for a 2 command point ability. They use this stratagem during their shooting phase when a Riza unit is selected to shoot. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in that unit makes an attack with a plasma weapon, you're adding 1 to the damage, which is really great. And then lastly, we have the Weapon Zix. This is a rare ForgeWorld that believes in innovation, and the top tech priests all have their own experimental weapons. One device is a souped up, super upvaulted Volkite blaster known only as Weapon Zix, and it has proved incredible in battle on numerous occasions. So it's an upgrade to a Volkite blaster that makes it range 24, heavy 3, strength 7, minus 2 AP and 2 damage, but the cherry on top is that each time you get an unmodified wound roll of 6, you're dealing 2 mortal wounds in addition to that damage. Really, really great. This is probably so far my favorite of the ForgeWorlds. And the last one that we will be talking about today is none other than the ForgeWorld Metallica. This one is just fun. So their dogma is called Relentless March. Models with this dogma also do not suffer the penalty to hit when firing heavy weapons in the same turn that they have moved. And finally, when an enemy unit is within engagement range of a unit from your army with this dogma, that enemy unit is treated as being below half strength. So pretty cool. Their stratagem that they have here is called a Deafening Assault. You use it during your shooting phase when one of your units is selected to shoot. You select one enemy unit that's not a vehicle, that's 12 inches of that unit, and until the start of the next turn, you have the move characteristics of model in that unit, and the enemy unit cannot fire Overwatch or can be set to defend. I don't think this is that good, because what's the point of having their move characteristics if they're already within 12 inches of you? If they get a good charge roll, they're gonna be able to charge you. And if you're trying to charge them, yeah, they can't fire Overwatch or be set to defend, but still, I don't think this is that great. And then lastly, their relic is the Adamantine Arm. Basically, this makes a Metallica model really strong in melee, because their strength is tripled, times 3, not doubled, it's tripled. Their AP is minus 3, and they're dealing 4 damage. Unfortunately, each time the bearer fights, no more than 1 attack can be made with this weapon, and each time an attack is made with this weapon, you do add 1 to the attack's hit roll. So chances are you'll probably hit and do a bunch of damage, but it's just 1 attack. So yeah, it could be really good, really funny if you're fighting like a Titan or something like that, because your strength is tripled. But, I mean, it's only one attack. So that's all we got for the rules revealed during this Warhammer community article. Let me know your thoughts below, let me know what you think, and if you'll be catching up the pre-orders for this. This is all I got for today, guys. Thank you for listening. This has been the Sound Alchemist, part of One Mind Syndicate, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.